All right, so one of the key things that I think is important for the future in Tacoma is to kind of understand what's going on with its overall growth. Uh, Tacoma is still growing pretty decently. Let me get this out of the way. Sorry, Tacoma, excuse me, is growing pretty decently. However, it is starting to see a little bit of the growing pains take place. I mentioned in one of the videos that I did that there are a lot of people who are being forced out of the city. In fact, one of our neighbors today has been moving, and another one is preparing to move in the next few days. Just in this area alone, houses I can look out and see are basically going to be vacant, only because people cannot afford it. One of them was a rental. The other one was a home that was actually owned. And then down, like maybe 2 houses down, it's a really nice house that, we've actually did the paint on the outside of it. The inside's nice. The roof was done by a different company, but that house was a rental, and it's a possibility that it's going to continue to be a rental, or it might even be sold as well. The house across the street where the folks were pushed out is probably going to be sold. So the reason why folks are selling is because a brief history with Tacoma was there was a time when people could not sell homes here. It was hard to actually sell a house, and people were not interested in moving to Tacoma at all. A lot of times houses just stayed on the market for so long that folks would just pull them off, or they were really underwater, meaning that they owed so much on the house that the value does not even represent what the house is worth. So a lot of folks held on to their homes and tried to struggle through the situation. And of course, finally, a lot of those homes were available, but what a lot of people did was basically offer those homes for rent. So that's why you see a lot of homes in Tacoma that historically have been for rent and not for sale. It's Friday, so cheers. So basically what you have is a city that is changing pretty drastically. Homes in Seattle are going down, but it's not enough to where people are still able to afford it. Even if a house drops $60,000 to $70,000 in Seattle, it's still very expensive. Here, homes only drop this time of year by, I think the paper said $3,000, which is nothing. So even if a house is $285,000, you're still going to pay over $280,000 for it. And there's still a good chance that you may have a bidding war too. So even though it was at $285,000, it still may be at $285,000 or greater, depending upon what happens as far as the bidding war goes. A lot of homes are on auction. So a lot of houses end up going on the auction block because a person cannot afford the home. Life happens, and it could be a situation where either they lost their job, or the taxes became too much, or it could be a whole host of things. So you have a lot of homes that end up on the auction block, which again, there's houses around this area where that has happened as well. So Tacoma's demographics are changing pretty drastically. And mostly that is changing, depending upon the area, right? On the website, we have a map that you can actually go to. And this map is interactive. So when you go to the map, it's going to directly take you to, and I'm going there now so I can do it as I'm talking. But when you go there, it's an interactive map that takes you to a site called movetotacoma.com. Now this is a real estate company that pretty much built this map. We're not promoting them at all. I'm not going to mention their name. But the map is great because what it does do is it tells you about the neighborhoods in Tacoma. And with that, as you click on a section, because it breaks down those neighborhoods throughout the city, when you click on that section, it gives you information about the city. It tells you about the various restaurants that are opening. Each area has basically a little circle that you can click on. When you're getting closer to downtown, those are smaller little sections, and so it's going to tell you. So, for example, Hilltop, which is what I'm going to talk about next, it tells you what is defined as Hilltop. It tells you what the St. Helens neighborhood is, which is actually a pretty cool area. It tells you about the Stadium District, Old Town, which is really a nice area. So it really breaks everything down. So when I talk about a particular area, you can go to this particular map and you can click on it and you can see what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about Hilltop, which is a pretty big area as far as downtown is concerned, right? Hilltop has historically been a African-American working class community. Over the years, it's faced a lot of issues, from gang violence to just poverty, lack of investments, a lot of different things. And basically it had painted a stigma, not just only by itself, but it painted a stigma for the city. Okay. When you go there to this particular site, it tells you kind of the median house prices. I don't think those are accurate, to be honest with you. Like, for example, it says the median sales price for a home is about $130,000. I don't know if that's true. It says 129. I don't know if that's accurate. It could be, but I just don't think that's accurate. I don't know how often this is updated, to be honest with you. But the point is, you're going to know exactly where Hilltop is. Hilltop is becoming a pretty quickly sought after area. And because of homes being around that price, back in the day at least, and homes sat for a while. Here it tells you the average market, days on the market is 82. Again, I don't think that's true. I think it's much less than that. But because home prices are so affordable and Hilltop is just really close to downtown, it's become a place that has really magnified a lot. There's kind of like a business district there, obviously. So that's appealing, because in Seattle, you have a lot of neighborhoods that are like that too. Greenwood, for example, is like that. Fremont's like that. There's a lot of them, right? So what's great about that is you can have a lot of live, work, and play right close to where you are. You don't have to necessarily go directly into downtown or over by the mall or any of that, because you have so many storefronts and you have so many different businesses that can actually locate there. So it makes it even more appealing. And then the hospital campus is close and downtown is close. The freeway access is close. So Hilltop, even though it had such a negative connotation before, and it still has areas that need to improve, it's actually highly sought after. But the problem with that is what you're seeing here, people being pushed out. Now, people have been pushed out of Hilltop for a while. It's been going on for a few years. And it's actually speeding up because more and more businesses, as they fill in downtown and they find key areas that they want to go into downtown, more of them are going to say, well, instead of paying this amount of money for rent, which is great compared to Seattle, I can go to Hilltop and pay even less for a storefront or for a home, because Hilltop is going to be connected by the light rail line. So again, it speeds up that process of pushing people out. You're starting to see over the rest of the city, even where I'm from, about, what are we, 3 miles? I think we're 3 miles from downtown. And it's starting to trickle out this way, right? So now you're starting to see the prices of homes get to the point of where it's pushing people out, because now homes that were for rent are now becoming homes for sale, because it makes perfect sense. You got to keep in mind, some of these homes were bought for like nothing back in the day, 60,000 back in the day. And so now they're able to sell these homes for 260,000. So imagine if you had a home, you don't owe anything on it, and now the home is worth $200,000 more than what you paid for it, easily, without doing any improvements. A lot of these homes are going because the seller doesn't have to do anything to the home, and people will buy it. They don't have to, clean the carpets or nothing. They just once somebody leaves, they just sell the home, and it is the way that it is, and people will buy it, right? So the market here, even though it's going down a little bit in terms of active sale prices, this time of year that happens. Around spring, it's going to tick back up again more than likely, because this area here and probably up in Everett are the two bookends that have a lot of supply, Tacoma more so, that needs to be filled, and it's a lot more affordable than it would be in Seattle, with Tacoma being even more affordable than Everett. So you're seeing more and more people move here. You're seeing more and more homes no longer being for rent and being for sale, and you're seeing the prices continue to go up slower at this point, and in some cases down in certain areas. But for our home and for this area here, they're continuing to go up, right? So here's what I would suggest to a lot of people. First off, I would, because some people are concerned, can I make it here? I have a lot of people that will send us emails and say, I'm concerned about if I'm going to be able to make it here. One of the key things, I think, is to first move into an area that is going to make life a lot easier. You don't want to become overwhelmed. The reason why I steer people away from Seattle unless they can roll like that is because you're going to find adjusting to a new city is going to be stressful for some. Navigating through that city and where to go is going to be stressful. Depending upon where you live in Seattle, it's going to be busy. That's stressful for a lot of people. The expenses there, there's a lot of things. Seattle is to me one of the best cities in the country, period. Many people will disagree, but for me, it's one of the best cities. But there are a lot of sticking points that if you're new, it's going to make time here kind of suck. Whereas Tacoma, it's not all the frills, it's not all the pretty, but it's a lot of an easier adjustment for people than, say, Seattle. And I think people get burnt out so quick because Seattle, I mentioned keeping up with the Joneses. It's more challenging for some. If you come from an area like a Boston or New York or, Chicago even, or something like that, it's not as much of a stretch. But if you're coming from, like, I don't know, where I'm from, it's a huge adjustment. It's a big adjustment. Tacoma, on the other hand, is not that way. And it's easier to get a home or an apartment here and then commute to Seattle and work. It's a lot easier. Not only is the pay better up there, but the housing prices are a lot more affordable here. You're going to get more bang for your buck here. And there's a lot of folks that are doing it. Now, the problem is that Seattle folks have a huge advantage because they're actually here versus people from someplace else. They're actually here. So they can easily drive down and do exactly what we did. We got a realtor from here, and we basically had them scout and find places for us. And we would come down on the weekends and we would just start attacking places. And it was great because we told them after work hours are perfect for us. So if you find something, let us know. Real estate brokers here, pretty much, I don't think they sleep at all, to be honest with you, because they're always on the go. But that was one of the benefits for us, is that we actually lived up in Seattle. We could easily take a quick drive down and attack it from there. We could literally, even while we were on the phone, we were looking at our phone and pulling up properties and driving at the same time to actually meet at certain places because it was that competitive. So it's still pretty much that competitive in a lot of respects. Tacoma is changing drastically, really drastically. There are more things in the works that are actually going to happen. The amount of companies that are interested in the city are starting to change. Downtown, I would still say, would be probably one of your best locations to actually go to. There's Hillside, there's Hilltop, St. Helens, and downtown. Those are areas that I would suggest probably taking a look at, to be honest with you. Again, go to the map and it will show you. Go to our website first and then go to the map, and basically when you click on it, you can go and explore these areas. And you can kind of see the charm about those particular areas. So if you're from out of town, what I would do to make everything a lot more easier is to find one of those places. Renting a house is probably great if you have a family and if you can afford to do so. Renting a home in one of those areas is probably going to be a really good idea. You might want to contact a real estate agent because they do also do rentals. So you can have a real estate agent find the place that suits your ideas. Then at that point, you know, you're good. Or if you're wanting to go the apartment route, I would still suggest one of those particular locations because they're a little bit more affordable and you're going to be close to everything, as I mentioned before, as far as like transportation and if you were to work in Seattle. Those would be my suggestions, is to probably stay very close to downtown. Now, if you live over in University Place, which is great, or the West Slope, which is nice because you can get to see the water and all that, and it's kind of hoity-toity. No offense, but it is. Or if you live over in any of those Point Defiance area, Point Ruston, then it could get a little overwhelming because the price of things are a lot more expensive, generally. And then commuting. You would have to drive through the whole city in order to, if you were to work in Seattle or outside of the area. You have to get onto the interstate and the highways and go through the whole entire city. And it's not fun. It's not bad. I mean, some people say, you know, I read some of the comments, they were like, you know, traffic here is a cakewalk compared to certain areas. That's true. I agree with you. Some cities it's much worse. But still, traffic is traffic. And for some, and me personally, I don't want to sit in traffic no longer than I need to. And after a while, it gets draining. It just really does. So you have to adjust and keep those things in mind when you are choosing an area. The great thing about this map that I like is that you can see the arteries, the different highways and interstates that are here in Tacoma, and you can kind of get an idea that, oh, I want to live in that particular area because it's close to the interstate. So anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed this video. When I get a little bit more information in terms of some of the stats and additional companies that are coming here, because there's a list that I have now, I will let you guys know. Some of them are hiring hundreds of people. I mean, Sumner just the other day, an aerospace company bringing in 600 jobs. You know, Bird, which is basically a bike sharing company, is now coming to Tacoma, and they're doing their 60-day trial just like Lime Bike is. Well, they're not even in, Bird used to be in Seattle, but they're no longer there. And so there's a lot of different companies that are focusing their energy on Tacoma because it's a lot more easier to get through and to deal with than it would be up in Seattle. It's also much more affordable. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys are having a great Friday, by the way. Until next time, I will see you. Take care.